I want to spend a few moments talking about what's obvious this week, Thanksgiving. As I've said before, ministers just hate holidays because you got to have something fresh to new and say about everything that the commercials on TV and all the print media is talking about. You got to deal with all the symbols and the icons and all the false stuff to get down to something that means something. So with that said, I want to tell you about an early Thanksgiving that happened across this state. It was the year of 1565, and it was September. And the Kingdom of Spain had decided that Florida would be a part of their empire. And they established St. Augustine and sent 500 or so soldiers. There were 300 and so sailors that had provided the ships. There were families that had come over, about 100 folk, and different craftsmen and artists that had come. Some indentured servants, some slaves from South America, but had come to establish this first European colony in the United States. And on September 8th, the governor called them together. And they had had preparation for a few weeks, and they had a great feast. Now, about 56 years later, in 1621, in Plymouth Rock, Plymouth colony would replicate that in their Thanksgiving. So we don't see many oysters and clams and fish out on our Christmas tables. We have turkey and corn and stuff like that. Well, our friends and neighbors across the state of the colony of Florida at that time had a seafood Thanksgiving. And they had some corn, and they had some of the fruits and vegetables from the hinterlands in the forest and the jungles that were St. Augustine. But the point was that there was an opportunity for the community to come together to acknowledge something that was obvious, and we like to do that. We are related. We are called to be human beings, always in relationship. We're born dependent. We learn a little independence, and then by the time we get smart enough to know we need other people. We go through a period of maybe 15 years that we hung the world, that we are in charge. And then the situations and the crisis and the troubles and the losses confront us, and we know we're not in charge. So Thanksgiving is a pretty simple thing. And it's not something to be guilt-ridden about. It is something to celebrate the fact that in relationships, we are enriched. It's a big potluck of life. It's bringing the talents, bringing the hopes, bringing the intentions, bringing the constructive ideas together in relationship to provide a bounty. It's most obvious in sharing food, the basic substance of life. Food, shelter, friendship, relationships, those are the essentials of life. So setting aside a holiday to express gratitude and the qualities of relationship is pretty special. Now, when you get in trouble and when you get out of your humility zone and you get into your arrogance zone, you think you are special, feel you're special because some power has given you something that hasn't given anyone else. So you better be thankful to that power, and you better manipulate that power, or they'll take their favors away from you. If we get in that train of thought, we're corrupting something very special and very holy. Everything is given to us for our use and our benefit. The question is, what do we do with it? How do we share those treasures? How do we manipulate them, refine them, reuse them so that they will be a benefit of life, not destruction? If we have an attitude of there's a power in the universe that can direct our being and help us conquer life, then we're in trouble. We're setting up the possibility of some of the ugliest stuff that human beings are capable of. It's happened before. It's happened when those same Spanish came to Florida, and those other Europeans would come and see the native people and see them as riffraff and something to move out of the way rather than something to engage and understand and appreciate. When we see in the other an object and not a subject, when we see in the other an it, not an I, then we're always in trouble. Thanksgiving is a pure and simple holiday that says we are all involved and invited to the table. There is no special dispensation here. God, life, opportunity has not set one group over the other to make this happen. It just happens in the flow and changes of history, in the process of time. Because there were Thanksgiving too, in other places, in other times, when they'd had a good harvest. It's basic to the human nature. When the crops had been good, when not many of the children had died, that life looked pretty promising, and then smacked down humanity. It's a trial and error process of our ancestors have walked slowly through a meandering trail, twisting back, made wrong directions, worshiped false gods, looked at greed as a way to accomplish, looked at others as objects to be used, to only learn that it comes back to me and you and those around us, coming together in humility and in appreciation for all that is and say, what do we got to share? What do we need to be about? What does our shelter look like? How are we going to regard one another? What are going to be our moral codes? How are we going to appreciate each other? That's the stuff of religion and the spiritual path. Not getting some benefit from this God or this power or this king or this system. It's human beings in relationship one with another in a love relationship that says you and I are in this together. Let's hug up close now. Let's get a little idea about where we want to go, and let's be cooperative. What does that look like? I give a little, you give a little, and you always hope that someone else comes and helps you also. Remember what happened with Squanto and Plymouth Rock. If there had not been the outsider to come, the stranger, the guest to that adventure, to that story, there would not have been a story. They would have not made it. Half of them were already dead. They didn't know what to do. They were unskilled. They were in a very bad place to try to understand and try to cope. And here comes this fella across the hill, speaking their language, training them how to do in a hostile atmosphere, getting them through, bringing some of his buddies, saying, well, we'll do better by you than you end up doing by us. See, we're all implicated. We're all implicated. We are heirs to users and malfeasance. We are heirs to people who have abused their opportunities and the love they've given us. So we don't have to worry about that. We have to worry about what we do today. Do those mistakes, those bad choices, those unseemly acts teach us anything today? Well, we can hate and we can be used and we can be abused by people different from us. And we can react in kind with hate and with dread and with fear and brutality. That's pretty human, isn't it? I'm asking you to be more than human. That's what life calls you to be about. We're moving back from into time with a reptilian mind that took care of us as weak creatures. We were inherited with a movable thumb and the quality of language. And with those tools, we developed other tools. And we became the primate that was the king and the controller and the queen of creation. And with that came a responsibility. We came to power to either use that power to sustain life, enrich it, bless it, and move it on into creation, through creation, or we came to destroy it and corrupt it and pollute it. Spirituality, a faith process, invites us to be co-creators with that divinity in life that moves that force to include and to bless all that is. Pretty simple. Thanksgiving is an opportunity to look at that close at hand, to look at the blood around us, the friends that have adopted us, those close at hand, to look at the taste of the food, the quality of the friendship, the lightness of the air, and to look at one another with marvel. Look at what we're talking about here, guys. Are we aware of the remarkable thing we are? That all life is? We are custodians of an energy and a force and a bunch of things that come together to make the most beautiful music in the world, to create the art, to teach children to write poems, to write understandings, to sing, to look, to lift, to bless. Of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is about human beings looking in from their humility to the wonder of life, to the blessings around us. And using those talents that we have to make money, to be of service, to be a part of creation, to share and enrich life with the gifts we bring. And the best gift we have is ourselves and the quality of our being. And if we're agents of good and kindness, moving out of our self-preservation to empty ourselves to the world, it may be amazed how we get along. It might be amazing how well we do. So in this sanctuary, in this special place, in this community of hope, let us take heart again to renew ourselves during this season, to be thankful for the gifts that we've received, to honor them, and move them back into life with a purpose and intent that lifts and blesses those who come in contact with it. May it be so. Let us be about it. Amen.